There is a new casting update for Christopher Nolan's next film, with the news that the director is reuniting with Robert Pattinson years after the release of 2020's Tenet. We got news the other week that Tom Holland, Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, and Lupita Nyong'o had joined the project, so the addition of Pattinson only bolsters the roster that Nolan is assembling. The update came from The Hollywood Reporter, which is a very legitimate source, and within the article we got a few other details to go alongside it as well. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing the new casting, all the other details that came out, and what I think towards this news. Before I get into it though, if you want to see more content on the director and his future projects, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into the new update surrounding Christopher Nolan's next movie. So Christopher Nolan is building an extraordinary ensemble for his next film at Universal Pictures, and a recent article from The Hollywood Reporter reveals that Robert Pattinson has officially joined the cast of this eagerly awaited project. Pattinson, who previously collaborated with Nolan in the 2020 sci-fi thriller Tenet, will be alongside a star-studded lineup that already features Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, and Lupita Nyong'o. The report indicates that Damon, Holland, Hathaway, and Pattinson will take on the main lead roles, while Nyong'o and Zendaya are expected to play supporting characters. Robert Pattinson's previous collaboration with Christopher Nolan on Tenet occurred during the COVID-19 pandemic, a time marked by friction between the director and his longtime studio, which preferred to debut the film on its streaming platform. Now, the two are coming together for a theatrical release at Universal, following Nolan's remarkable triumph at the box office and the award season with Oppenheimer. So with Pattinson taking on a leading role, fans can look forward to an exciting resurgence of their partnership. The Hollywood Reporter also states that although the actor is set to reprise his role in Matt Reeves' Batman sequel, there are no specific plans for when that other project will begin filming. This means that Pattinson has two major films in the pipeline with top-tier directors, and despite the wait for both of them, fans can look forward to some big performances. Universal Pictures officially announced that the release date for the upcoming Nolan film was set for July the 17th, 2026, and this timing is consistent with several of the director's earlier projects, which also premiered around this date. Additionally, filming for the new movie is scheduled to begin in the first half of 2025, likely around the month of January. So with all this in mind, the question you may have is when can we expect announcements for the plot and characters involved in the director's latest film? Well, if we're to base things off of Nolan's previous projects, we tend to get all the big casting announcements first, and then a few weeks after, we get an update on the film's story. So if we get all the casting news by the end of this year, and filming is set to begin at the start of next year, we should hear about the idea of the project by January at the latest. That's not long to wait, and based on the first few casting announcements, it sounds like it's going to be another massive story from the filmmaker. When it comes to the casting of Robert Pattinson, I think this is fantastic news, and adding a performer who is consistently getting better and better from project to project is nothing but a win. It's also brilliant to see Nolan and Pattinson working together again, as I didn't think it would happen so soon after Tenet. They clearly have a good working relationship, and that makes sense, as before Oppenheimer came out, it was said that Pattinson gifted Nolan a book of Oppenheimer's speeches, leading him to make that project. So as a whole, I can't wait to see what kind of role the actor is playing, and we should find out very soon what this movie actually is. Speaking of what Nolan's next film is, there have been a few rumours in recent weeks about the type of film he's going to be making. It turned out that these rumours were completely false, as the reports were shut down by both Deadline and The Hollywood Reporter. It was said one week that the movie was going to be a period vampire thriller, and then another that it was going to be a helicopter action thriller inspired by Blue Thunder. But both Deadline and The Hollywood Reporter have maintained that nothing has even come close to nailing what Nolan's real idea is. So until we get a real announcement before filming, none of us know what this movie is actually going to be. When it comes to my own prediction, I think he's going to make an original film following the pattern of his last few releases. Dunkirk was a historical film, Tenet was an original one, and then Oppenheimer was another project based on history. So if he were to continue that pattern, his next film would be an original one. Of course, it's up for debate about what genre that would involve, and if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I would personally love to see him tackle a horror film or a western movie. But again, we haven't got any real confirmation about this yet. With the casting of Robert Pattinson, I've also seen a lot of people say online that they'd like to see Nolan make a Tenet 2. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of that film and I think it was highly underrated, but I don't think he will go down that route. And that's because, other than the Dark Knight trilogy, the director has focused on making films in different genres each time he puts one out. So I don't think we'll be seeing a sequel to Tenet, but I guess you could argue that anything is possible. Ultimately, we haven't got long to wait until we find out what his next film actually is, and like all of Nolan's previous work, I think he's going to surprise us when that announcement does eventually come out. It's going to be fascinating to see what direction he does go in, especially after having massive success with Oppenheimer, both at the award season and at the global box office. But that was my video discussing the casting of Robert Pattinson in Christopher Nolan's next film. I'm really interested to see what film Nolan is making and what roles all of these actors will be playing, as the cast is shaping up to be even bigger than his previous film. Again, the director starts filming it in early 2025, so I think we're going to get plot and character information very soon. I still think the project will be an original one, as that is the usual route he takes after making a film based on a real event or history. We'll just have to wait and see though, because the filmmaker tends to surprise us with every project he announces. But let me know down below in the comment section what you think towards the casting of Robert Pattinson, alongside what type of film you'd like to see next from the auteur blockbuster filmmaker. For much more content on Christopher Nolan and his future projects, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.